What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I have some good news to share with you guys when it comes to inflation. We're going to talk about the CPI score today. And so we're going to talk about everything when it comes to inflation. We'll talk about food. We'll talk about shelter. We'll talk about electricity. So that's what we're going to focus on in this video. But first off, if you guys can do me a favor, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And please remember to follow me on Twitter at the TEC Show Live. I post videos over there, so I'll post a video on YouTube and then I'll repost it on Twitter. So if you don't get a YouTube notification, you'll be able to watch it on Twitter, as well as I'll post other things on Twitter just to keep you guys up to date when it comes to retirement and Social Security. Okay, so let's go right over, and here's the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and every month they let us know what it looks like when it comes to inflation. So month-to-month inflation rose by 0.1%. Now, when you're looking at the year, and this is what most people focus on, the year. The year, it was 5.0%, and so that is down, and so it continues to go down, which is good when we're looking at the 12-month calendar here. And so that's the good news out of this situation. But we also want to look at how much has food gone up and things like that. So we're going to take a look at that. We'll take a look at the actual numbers as well. And if you're looking at my cursor in the middle here, it says the food index was unchanged in March, with the food at home index falling 0.3%. And we'll look at some of the issues that, as far as things that have been rising, that's what we really want to focus on when it comes to inflation. What things are really rising? And so the easiest way to look at this is if we go down to our graph here, we'll be able to see exactly what's rising and what's decreased over a month to month. Okay, so we want to look at overall. So we want to see that 5.0%. We want to see that number going down. Now, remember, when it comes to the CPI score, when it comes to inflation, what they're doing when they put up this information is, just imagine if you go into a grocery store, you go into a store, period, you can buy groceries, you can buy a variety of different things, and you have your shopping cart, and you're just putting those different things in your shopping cart, and they're just comparing those prices to the prices that we saw last month, and then the prices that we saw even last year. Okay, so remember also the CPI score, this is for March, so this is not for April. We don't have April numbers because we're still in April. So in May, we'll get April numbers. Right now, since we're in April, we're getting March numbers. And so looking at all items, just like we were talking about, it's 5.0%. And if you see month to month, you see how the pattern is basically. So it was up 0.4%. back in September, and then October it was up 0.5%. So you see from September to October it went up even higher, and then in November that's when it started to decline. So it went down 0.2%. Then in December it went down 0.1%. And then in January, guess what? It went back up 0.5%. February it went down 0.4%. And then in March we see it go down 0.1%. And this is a pretty big gap. If you're looking at this, this is the largest gap I'm looking at. Yeah, this is our largest gap of a decrease that we've seen in the last 6 months, 6 to 7 months. So looking at food overall, this is something else we need to focus on. 8.5%. It was unchanged in March. Okay, so when we're looking at the numbers here, if we go back to September, it was 0.8%, then it went down to 0.7%, then it went down to 0.6%, and then in December it went to 0.4%, January 0.5%, it went up just a little bit in January, and then in February it went down to 0.4%, and now we're at 0.0%, no change. Okay, so we're seeing it go in the right direction, continue to go in the right direction, even if it's 0.0. And so hopefully we'll see negatives when it comes to April, and that will be good. That will mean that this number will start to decline. Now, let's look at some of the other areas here. When it comes to energy, energy's on a real big decline, which is good. So it started at minus 1.7%. Then it went up in October. It went up to 1.7%. Then it went back down to minus 1.4% in November, minus 3.1% in December. Then it went up in January to 2.0%. And then it went down in February, minus 0.6%. And then in March, minus 3.5%. And now we're looking at minus 6.4%. Okay, and that's year to year. So this is looking good when it comes to some of these things here. Gasoline is something else that we all, it's a necessity for most people. And back in September, it was minus 4.2%. And then it went up in October at 3.4%. And then we saw a decline in November, minus 2.3%. And then in December, it was minus 7%. And then January was up 2.4%. And then February, 1%. And then now we're looking at minus in March, minus 4.6%. And so year to year, it's minus 17.4%. So some of these numbers are really good. Some of these numbers are what we've been wanting to see for a very, very long time. And so we'll just kind of move down to some of the other areas here, because I do want to get into shelter. This is something that we need to focus on as well. Now, shelter's not moving down as fast as some of these other categories. And so when we're looking back in September of 2022, when it comes to shelter, it was 0.7%. And then in October, it was 0.7%. And then in November, it was 0.6%. And then December was 0.8%. January of this year was 0.7%. February of this year was 0.8%. And then March, it was 0.6%. So you see, it's really not fluctuating too much when it comes to shelter. And shelter will tend to stay where it is. It's not really going to move that much, as far as it might move up, but it's not going to drop down anytime drastically. And just think about it. I mean, when it comes to shelter, when it comes to rent or even a mortgage and things like that, you're not going to see significant changes when it comes to shelter. Medical care services, we're looking at in September, it was 0.8%. And then in October, it was minus 0.4%. And then in November, it was minus 0.5%. December, it was 0.3%. January, interesting enough, it was minus 0.7%. As February was minus 0.7%. And then in March, minus 0.5%. And right now, it's at about 1%. Now, I will do a more in-depth video where I'll look at the actual food items, because I like to do that, because then it lets you know, if you're going to a grocery store, what is more expensive than it was last year, or even last month. And so we'll focus on that. I don't want to put all that in one video, because it would just be a long video. It would be 30 or 40 minute video. So that's why I want to break it down. But we do have good news when it comes to inflation overall. Year to year, it was 5%, which is good. Or it's at least going in the right direction. They want to get it down to 2%. Okay, so that's the push. The Federal Reserve wants to get it down to 2%. And so will the Federal Reserve raise interest rates again at their next meeting? We're going to have to see, but we're at 5%. They want to be at 2%. So they're probably going to raise interest rates again. And so we'll have to follow that story. But I just wanted to bring you this information. I'll probably post another video later today on retirement. So make sure you guys tune in for that. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.